Hello and welcome back to the channel. Ever felt the ground shake beneath your feet? Or wondered about the immense power lurking just below the Earth's surface? Today we're diving deep into one of our planet's most powerful and fascinating phenomena, earthquakes. Specifically, we're going to explore the two major types, tectonic and volcanic earthquakes. What makes them different? What causes them? And how do they shape the world we live in? Stick around, because we're about to uncover some earth-shattering facts. First, let's talk about the big one, the type you're probably most familiar with, tectonic earthquakes. Imagine the Earth's outer shell, the lithosphere, isn't one solid piece. Instead, it's broken up into massive, continent-sized slabs called tectonic plates. These plates are constantly on the move, sort of like giant rafts floating on the semi-molten layer of the mantle beneath them. They grind past each other, collide, or pull apart. Now, this movement isn't smooth. The edges of these plates, known as fault lines, are jagged and rough. As they try to move, they get stuck, and immense stress and pressure build up over years, decades, or even centuries. Think of it like bending a stick. You can bend it for a while, but eventually, it reaches its breaking point and snaps. When the stress along a fault line finally overcomes the friction holding the rocks together, there's a sudden, violent release of energy. The rocks slip, and this energy radiates outwards in all directions as seismic waves. That's the shaking we feel on the surface, a tectonic earthquake. These are the earthquakes responsible for the most powerful seismic events on record. The San Andreas Fault in California, for example, is a famous boundary where the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate are sliding past each other. The immense pressure building up there is what causes the frequent earthquakes in the region. Similarly, when one plate is forced to slide underneath another, a process called subduction, it can lead to what are known as megathrust earthquakes. These are the titans of the seismic world, capable of generating magnitudes of 9.0 or higher, like the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan or the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake. These events release an unimaginable amount of energy and can reshape entire coastlines, reminding us just how dynamic our planet truly is. So, in a nutshell, tectonic earthquakes are all about the slow, powerful dance of Earth's massive plates. They are the planet's way of releasing built-up stress from its constant large-scale movements. Now, let's shift our focus from the broad movements of plates to something more localized but equally dramatic: volcanoes. This brings us to our second type, volcanic earthquakes. As you can probably guess from the name, these earthquakes are directly linked to volcanic activity. Unlike tectonic earthquakes, which can happen far from any volcano, volcanic earthquakes are concentrated in and around volcanic regions. Their cause is fundamentally different. Instead of plates grinding against each other, the culprit here is magma, molten rock, moving beneath the surface. As magma, along with gases and other fluids, forces its way up from deep within the Earth, it has to push through solid rock. This process is anything but gentle. The magma can fracture rock, creating new pathways. It can cause the walls of underground magma chambers to vibrate and shift. This underground turmoil generates seismic waves, creating what we call volcanic earthquakes. These quakes are usually much smaller and more localized than their tectonic cousins. You typically won't see a volcanic earthquake registering a magnitude 9.0. However, they are incredibly important for scientists. Why? Because they act as a crucial warning system. A sudden increase in the frequency and intensity of these small quakes, often called a seismic swarm, is a telltale sign that magma is on the move and that a volcano might be preparing to erupt. Volcanologists use sensitive instruments called seismometers to listen to these rumbles from deep within the Earth. By tracking the location and depth of these quakes, they can map the movement of magma and forecast potential eruptions with greater accuracy, giving people in nearby areas valuable time to evacuate. So, while they may not have the sheer destructive power of a major tectonic event, volcanic earthquakes are the planet's own alarm bell, signaling that something fiery is stirring below. Let's dive a bit deeper into the characteristics that set these two types of earthquakes apart. Think about their seismic signature, the way they look on a seismograph. Tectonic earthquakes caused by a sudden slip on a fault typically start with a very sharp, clear jolt. This is the P wave or primary wave, followed by the more destructive S wave or secondary wave. The whole event can last from a few seconds to several minutes for the largest quakes, and the energy is released over a vast area along the fault line. Volcanic earthquakes, on the other hand, often have a more complex and varied signature. Some are sharp and high frequency, similar to small tectonic quakes caused by rock fracturing. Others are more like a prolonged tremor, a continuous vibration that can last for minutes or even hours. This type of signal, known as a volcanic tremor, is often associated with the steady flow of magma through underground conduits, like water humming through a pipe. Scientists can even distinguish different types of volcanic quakes to understand what's happening. For instance, a swarm of quakes getting shallower and shallower is a classic sign that magma is ascending toward the surface, a critical piece of information for forecasting an eruption. Another key difference is their depth. Tectonic earthquakes can occur at various depths, from very shallow to hundreds of kilometers deep within subduction zones, where one plate is diving deep into the mantle. The deepest earthquakes ever recorded were over 700 kilometers below the surface. In contrast, volcanic earthquakes are almost always shallow. They typically occur at depths of less than 10 kilometers, right beneath the volcano itself. This makes sense, as they are caused by the movement of magma in the volcano's plumbing system, which is relatively close to the surface. This shallow depth is also why, even if they are smaller in magnitude, they can be felt quite strongly by people living on or near the volcano. The shaking is happening right under their feet. So, by looking at the depth, frequency, and type of seismic waves, scientists can paint a detailed picture of the forces at play, distinguishing the global grind of tectonic plates from the localized, fiery push of magma. So, how do these different types of earthquakes impact us and the world around us? The impact of large tectonic earthquakes is widespread and can be catastrophic. The primary hazard is, of course, the intense ground shaking, which can cause buildings, bridges, and other infrastructure to collapse. But the danger doesn't stop there. In subduction zones, a massive tectonic earthquake can displace a huge volume of water, generating a tsunami. A series of powerful waves that can travel across entire oceans and inundate coastal communities thousands of kilometers away. These quakes can also trigger landslides in mountainous regions and liquefaction, where water-saturated soil temporarily loses its strength and behaves like a liquid, causing buildings to sink or tilt. The effects are far-reaching and can alter landscapes permanently. The impact of volcanic earthquakes is generally more localized, but it's part of a package deal that comes with a volcanic eruption. The earthquakes themselves rarely cause major structural damage, but they are the heralds of other more immediate dangers. They signal the potential for explosive eruptions that can send ash plumes tens of kilometers into the sky, disrupting air travel and affecting global climate. They warn of pyroclastic flows, superheated clouds of ash, rock, and gas that race down the volcano's slopes at incredible speeds. They also precede lava flows that can bury entire towns, and lahars, which are destructive volcanic mud flows. So, while a person in a city hundreds of kilometers away might feel a tectonic earthquake, the effects of a volcanic earthquake are most acutely felt by those living in the volcano's shadow. For them, these tremors are a direct and personal warning to prepare for the immense power the volcano is about to unleash. In the end, both tectonic and volcanic earthquakes are born from the same fundamental truth. We live on a dynamic, ever-changing planet. The ground beneath our feet is not static. Tectonic earthquakes are the grand, slow-motion consequence of our planet's cooling system, the shifting of continents, and the building of mountains over millions of years. They are a release of stress on a global scale. Volcanic earthquakes, on the other hand, are the immediate, urgent symptoms of a more localized process. The transport of molten material from the Earth's interior to its surface. They are the heartbeat of a volcano, telling us when it's waking up. One is about the slow grind of plates, the other about the upward push of magma. But both are powerful reminders of the incredible forces that have shaped and continue to shape our world. Understanding the difference between them isn't just an academic exercise. It's vital for assessing risks, forecasting disasters, and ultimately, for learning to coexist with the powerful geology of our home planet. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of earthquakes. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you learned something new today, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the wonders of our planet. Do you have any experiences with earthquakes, or are there any other geology topics you'd like to see covered? Let me know in the comments below. Stay curious, and see you next time.